Hello, my name is Gabrielle Wells, and I have decided to do my project on Ingles Markets versus Kroger. Introduction. Ingles Markets and Kroger are both in the retail and grocery store industry. Financial analysis for both firms will be used to determine investment potential or short sale. Ingles Market capitalization is a little over $2 billion, while Kroger is a little over $41 billion. Though Kroger's market capitalization is much higher than Ingles Market's, both stores serve the retail grocery market and provide the same products and services, making them equivalent comparisons. Ingles markets are regional and Kroger is nationwide. Both stores have SIC code of 5411. Background. Ingles first. Robert Ingle opened the first Ingles supermarket in Asheville, North Carolina in 1963. He found his niche in smaller towns and rural communities and expanded into small communities into Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Virginia. Ingles now operates approximately 200 stores in 6 southeastern states, including North and South Carolina, with annual sales of almost $4 billion. Because competition was stiff and other competitors controlled 93% of food sales in the market, Ingles implemented a strategy of owning his own real estate, of which he owns about 2/3 currently. He also extended store hours, discounted goods, offered games, and set up mass merchandise displays. He had a larger-than-life marketing strategy just to attract food traffic into the store. Background on Kroger. The Kroger Company was founded in 1883 in Cincinnati, Ohio by Barry Kroger. Kroger ranks as one of the world's largest retailers with nearly 2,800 stores in 35 states. The company operates under 24 banners with annual sales of more than $115.3 billion. In the early 1900s, the Kroger Company became the first grocer to establish their own bakeries, which is how they reduced costs to customers. Kroger was also the first grocer to sell meat and groceries under one roof. Financial ratios. Current ratio. The current ratio is a liquidity ratio that measures a company's ability to pay short-term obligations or those due within 1 year, and it tells investors in analysis how a company can maximize the current assets on its balance sheet to satisfy its current debt and other payables. The formula for current ratio is current assets over current liabilities. In 2001, they had a current ratio of 0.81. In 2020, they had a current ratio of 0.76. And in 2019, they had a current ratio of 0.76. This was Kroger. Ingles in 2021 had a current ratio of 1.87. In 2020, they had a current ratio of 1.45. In 2019, they had a current ratio of 2. Current ratio chart. Ingles Market's current ratio is well above 1, which means that the company's assets will be able to cover its debts that are due at the end of the year. Though Kroger has a current ratio below 1, it is still sustainable. However, Ingles was outstanding. Financial ratios. The debt to equity ratio compares a company's total liabilities to its shareholders' equity and can be used to evaluate how much leverage a company is using. Higher leverage ratios tend to indicate a company or stock with higher risk to shareholders. Debt to equity ratio is the formula is total liabilities over total shareholders' equity. Kroger's debt to equity ratio in 2021 was 1.31, in 2020 1.41, and 2019 1.54. And Ingles was 1.05 in 2021, and in 2020 1.31, 2019 1.81. The debt to equity ratio compares a company's total liabilities to its shareholders' equity and can be used to evaluate how much leverage a company is using. Higher leverage ratios tend to indicate a company or stock with higher risk to shareholders. Both companies have a D over E over 1, but seems to be leveraged well. On average, a debt to equity of 2 or higher would be concerning, but it looks good for both companies. Quick ratios. The quick ratio is an indicator of a company's short-term liquidity position and measures a company's ability to meet its short-term obligations with its most liquid assets. Quick ratio is current assets minus inventory over current liabilities. Kroger in 2021 had a quick ratio of 0.35. In 2020 had a quick ratio of 0.28. In 2019 had a quick ratio of 0.27. And Ingalls in 2021 had a quick ratio of 0.61. In 2020, 0.32. In 2019, a quick ratio of 0.5. Alrighty, so again, we just explained what the quick ratio is. A quick ratio of 1 means that a company is healthy and can pay back its liabilities with ease. Neither company hit this target, but Ingalls is deemed healthier because it is closer to 1. Comparison. Kroger has intangible assets and goodwill on their books due to its many acquisitions. This adds to risk to Kroger. Ingalls carries more inventory and has grown by expansion instead of acquisition, so it does not carry any goodwill on its books. Ingalls' strategy of purchasing real estate is reflected in their high PP&E numbers. Ingalls' PP&E is approximately $1.3 billion. It looks like Ingalls has taken on a lot of debt to expand. Kroger's total company sales were $132.5 billion in 2020 compared to $122.3 billion the previous year. They had an operating loss of $158 million, including a $989 million charge for pension commitments. Kroger committed $2.5 billion support and safeguard associates, customers, and communities. Gross margin was 23.3% of sales in 2020. Both companies have a very little net income compared to their sales revenue. Kroger's sales exceeded $132.5 billion in 2020, but net income was only $2.59 billion, or around 1.9%. Ingalls sales were over approximately $4.99 billion, but only profited a little over $71 million. So even though Kroger operates on a much larger scale, the net income percentage for both companies is relatively the same. Both companies have very good cost of goods, sold over 75% of sales. This is due to the industry. The industry must hold a lot of inventory before they get a return on their investment. So I decided to choose Kroger. And the reason why I decided to choose Kroger is because it has grown primarily by acquisition. They have a diversified balance sheet with many aspects of the retail sector. Kroger is better positioned to compete in the future, so I would more likely invest in them over Ingalls, since Ingalls is susceptible to acquisition by Kroger or some other national retailer. For the Kroger company, a wide store network in the U.S. is the company's main strengths, whereas declining profitability, product recalls, limited liquidity position, and lawsuits remain major areas of concern. In the future, geographic concentration, increasing manpower costs, and intense competition in the U.S. food retailing could affect its growth. However, growing organic food market, online retailing, and strategic agreements are likely to provide growth opportunities to the company. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for a great year.